Let's do a test run first. So, question for you. A lot of our patients say that supplements will fix their weight problem and help them lose all the weight. What do you think about that?
So supplements can be really good for support. It's when you look in the research for a lot of weight loss supplements, things like CLA, green coffee bean extract, things like that. Very, very, very small effect on weight loss. In my experience and the experience of a lot of the doctors that I've worked with and talked to, there's nothing that's going to replace diet and lifestyle change. So your exercise, getting proper sleep, making sure that you're eating well. There's no supplement that will.
There's no magic pill.
No such thing. As much as we like to think these days, with things like Ozempic, GLP-1s, there's always a trade-off. And when it comes to long-term sustainable weight loss, you have to be addressing the root causes, and you have to be fixing things like inflammation, hormone function, metabolism. Those things don't change that much from supplements and from medications. We need to re-regulate what's going on inside the body so that the body is actually working for itself and not against itself.
Yeah. I always like to say too that a supplement is just that, in supplement to the lifestyle changes, the diet changes, the root cause fix.
It's in the name.
There you
go.
go.
It's just a supplement.
It's just a supplement, not a magic pill. All right. Let's see. Okay, so one common thing that we hear, which is a myth, is that if someone is not losing weight, they just need more willpower. What do you think about that?
I mean, what caused the willpower to be low in the first place, right? People think that, they need to have the willpower to go to the gym 6 days a week in order to lose weight. But what caused that energy to be low in the first place? What caused the willpower to be low? And so when we're looking at patients, when we dig deep, oftentimes what we find is, their energy is low because they have nutrient deficiencies, or they have hormone imbalances. And so once we correct those hormone imbalances and those nutrient deficiencies, they feel like they have the energy to go and do the workout and do the meal prep that's actually going to help them lose the weight. And so when you look at it deeper, it's not the willpower that was the problem in the first place. It was their energy and their willingness to be able to do those things that was low in the first place.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think most people don't know that willpower is a finite resource. It's not something that we have all the time. And a lot of times when people come in with hormone imbalances, what ends up happening is those hormone imbalances end up controlling end up controlling your decisions, your cravings, your ability to get up and get going, that motivation piece that's often missing for a lot of people. And that's not willpower. It's literally your internal physiology. That's not correct. And once you correct that, then all of a sudden the motivation comes back, the energy comes back, the ability to easily make a decision that is serving you and your body in that moment in time comes back. So it's never a willpower thing. It's always what's underlying the willpower.
I think beyond just the willpower, I think knowledge is important too. And also the skills that you build to actually be able to do the things long term that are going to help you to stay healthy. Because if you don't know what kind of meals to prep and how to balance out the macros in those meals to hit your weight loss goals, it's going to take a lot more time and energy and willpower to figure those things out. So also, if you have the skills to do that, then you can plan accordingly. And it's not going to take all of this mental energy to actually plan those things and carry them out.
Yeah. It's almost like you want to make it second nature for you to be able to make the right decision for yourself. So it doesn't draw from that storage of willpower that you're constantly trying to replenish. Nice. Great. Okay, hey, so this is a really good one. Carbs are always the problem, right?
No. They're not always the problem.
No.
Sometimes they're the problem. I mean, if you're eating 300 grams of carbs in a day, then that's probably the problem. But I get my patients to eat a healthy amount of carbs, a good amount of carbs, and it also depends on what you're doing in your day.
Yeah.
Something that really stuck with me that I heard, you have to earn your carbs. So if you're exercising, if you're pushing, lots of weights, if you're doing a lot of aerobic exercise as well, then you're going to be burning carbs like crazy. If you're not getting enough carbs to actually use as energy, you're not going to have the energy to do your workouts or push yourself hard enough to the point where you're building muscle mass.
Yeah.
And so it's situational. There are some situations where you actually need more carbs. There's some situations where less carbs can be better. So it's not always the problem.
Yeah. I think the two of us could probably do a whole hour long, maybe hour and a half long video on just carbs alone. Actually, comment below if you want to see that. But with carbs, there are so many different variables that play into that. Yeah, like if you're exercising hard, you want to fuel up with carbs before and after the strength training or high endurance exercise. The other thing that often we don't know about carbs is the type of carbs that you're eating matters so much. There are really quickly, easily digested carbs like fruit or anything made with flour. And then there's your complex carbs like your beans and your lentils and your quinoa and that sort of thing. And the difference between the two of them is massive, massive with what your goals are. So picking the right type of carb is super important. And then at the end of the day, carbs, proteins, fats, all of those things, when we're thinking about healing the root cause of why someone may be unintentionally gaining weight or having a hard time losing it, at the end of the day, the carbs, proteins, and fats that you're consuming, they're all calories at the end of the day. So it's not that carbs are the problem; it's how is your body digesting them and absorbing them that ends up resulting in the number of calories or energy units that your body can absorb or is absorbing. That's another thing about carbs. The last thing about carbs that I don't think a lot of people know is that there's so much genetic variability with carbs and how your body processes them. It's pretty crazy. So with Indian and Irish populations, because of the history of famine in these populations, the way that our bodies digest and store carbs is very different than other types of ethnicities. So when you're thinking about carbs in a bigger picture, you also want to think about what is the genetic variability for this person, along with the goals that they have, along with any hormone imbalances that they may be experiencing, or nutrient deficiencies they may be experiencing, or gut health issues they may be experiencing. You have to take all of that into context to figure out what is the deal with carbs for you and yourself and your body.
Yeah, when we're screening patients, we hear about all these different strategies that people have tried. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the patients that I come into contact with have tried the low carb thing, and it for most people it works just for a little bit, but we need those carbs, and it's important. And then everybody's different in how they process it. So you have to, it's true, you have to be really specific about, okay, who is this person, what has worked for them in the past, what do their genetics say, and then also look at the type of carbs that they're consuming, because mm-hmm. it does make a massive difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. So carbs are not all evil. It's not just a carbs problem. Okay, so you have to be in the gym 6 days a week to lose weight, right?
No, you don't. Thank God. It would be really hard to get people to do that consistently. Yes. And you know what? I've seen a lot of patients come in and they're doing that, but they're not losing weight.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so there are a couple problems with that. Sometimes, especially if the body's already experiencing lots of inflammation, if you're going to the gym and you're creating more inflammation every day and you don't have the resources to manage that inflammation, it's not going to work. But really, like if you're managing things like inflammation, things like hormone issues, metabolic issues from the root, then you don't really have to work as hard to lose weight, because your body starts working for itself. And those systems that are dysregulated, if you're able to actually regulate them and have things like insulin be better regulated and have cortisol be better regulated and actually be able to lose weight and not be storing it up, then 3 to 4 days in the gym doing a moderate intensity workout is enough to burn the calories to lose the weight.
Yeah. And should that be just cardio for that workout?
It shouldn't. Actually, when you look in the research, strictly cardio workouts don't do a very good job at helping people lose weight. And so a big thing there, muscle, and we're all starting to figure this out now. The research is coming out. Everybody's talking about it. Muscle mass is super, super important for controlling your metabolism, for controlling your insulin sensitivity. And so those things go actually a lot longer way than your aerobic workouts that we traditionally thought were what you needed to do to lose weight.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so, do you see patients that are going to the gym 6 days a week, for example, to build that muscle? Is that something they need to be doing?
Honestly, 6 days a week is a lot. It depends on the intensity of your exercise and where you're at. But especially for people that are just starting out, 6 days a week is going to be a lot of stress on your muscles. It's going to lead to more inflammation in the body. And oftentimes, you don't have enough time to rest and recover your muscles, especially when you're starting out, for that to be an effective way to build muscle.
Yeah, fair. All right. So we get a lot of patients that are going through their perimenopause or menopause stages, or maybe their postmenopause as well. And here's a myth: menopause weight gain is just something women have to accept, right?
You know what? It's not. And before I go into this, I want to say one thing. A little bit of extra weight in menopause is actually, it can be a good thing to a certain extent. So our weight, our fat is an endocrine organ. It produces hormones. And so the little bit of estrogen that we're actually able to store in our fats post menopause can be protective for things like osteoporosis and metabolic changes. But when it comes to weight gain during menopause, although it's very common, it's not actually normal. A small amount is normal, but a lot of people will gain, 30, 40, 50 pounds within 3 to 5 years as they go into that perimenopause, hit menopause. And so this is something that happens a lot in conventional medicine where, especially with women and especially post-menopause, a lot of doctors will tell you things like hot flashes, things like weight gain. This is totally normal to see. In reality, these things are common. We see them all the time. That's not actually the same thing as them being normal. So usually things like weight gain, things like hot flashes, weight gain in particular in menopause, there's a lot of other things going on underneath the surface, and a lot of things that have happened and been happening for years with these women. And those are things like chronic stress, years of disordered sleep patterns, years of hormonal imbalances, years of nutrient deficiencies. And so those things, as they compound over time, that's what causes the weight gain. And so something that I like to think about, like if you put a woman that's going through menopause on HRT, they're not going to lose weight. They never do. Some of them even gain weight because of the progesterone. But if weight gain was, if menopause was a cause of weight gain, then why, when we give them the hormones, would they not lose weight?
That's a good point.
So there's actually a lot that goes on underneath the surface, aside from menopause, aside from sex hormone changes, that's driving a lot of those issues. And what we see with our patients is when we fix those issues like insulin resistance, like sleep issues, digestive health, inflammation, that's when the weight comes off.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And so, how would you help someone who maybe is on HRT post menopause wanting to lose weight? What are some of the things that you would do for them?
So you'd have to figure out why it's happening in the first place. So it would be great to know, is there insulin resistance? Do they have high CRP or fibrinogen? Are they having inflammation in their body? Are they deficient in any nutrients that can cause issues with hormone function or metabolism? And so that's where you have to start. You have to dig a little bit deeper and find out, what are the things that are going underneath the surface? What are some of the symptoms we're seeing? Are there problems with sleep? Are there problems with stress? And addressing those things that are going to lead to changes in cortisol and other hormones that are going to influence weight.
Yeah, awesome. There you go. Okay, so some of the things that one of the things that our patients say is, "Hey, my doctor ran my labs, they came back completely normal, so I must be fine, right?"
Yeah. Generally, what your medical doctor is looking for is that nothing within those labs is outside of the reference range. And so these reference ranges, they're reference ranges for a reason, because everybody kind of sits at a different spot. But what we're looking for as naturopathic doctors is optimal, and normal doesn't always mean optimal. So a great example is iron. Generally, if you see that that somebody's ferritin is above 50, your doctor's going to tell you you're fine everything's okay. In reality, we can start to see some symptoms of iron deficiency when those numbers are lower. Thyroid's a good one too, and it's called subclinical hypothyroidism. Your doctor isn't going to prescribe you levothyroxine or another thyroid medication to manage subclinical hypothyroidism, because when you look in the research, it doesn't show that there's much benefit. But as naturopaths, there's a lot that we can do to really optimize those numbers and the function of the thyroid, the amount of iron that we have in our blood, to actually improve those symptoms and make sure that you're optimal. And those things also, when things are suboptimal for a very long time, they can lead to other risks and other changes in the body. So those are things that we can optimize, and there's treatments that we have to do that. So it makes sense why doctors are going to say it's normal, because they don't have anything to tell you to make changes. As naturopaths, there's plenty that we can do to really optimize those numbers and actually see benefits from it.
Yeah. So let's take subclinical hypothyroidism, for example. So this will show up as normal thyroid levels in the blood work. But if someone does have subclinical hypothyroidism and their blood work is normal, how would they feel? Like, what does it look like for them?
So that can look like cold intolerance, so feeling colder in places where you really shouldn't. That can look like a little bit of weight gain. It can look like fatigue. It can look like
sometimes hair is affected, skin, nails, mood is impacted as well. Transit time in your bowels, so you may be noticing changes in bowel movements. Your gut health is affected as well. And simply because it doesn't show up on the blood work doesn't mean that this person is making all of that up.
Yeah.
All it means is that it's not optimal for their body, and that's what we're trained to address and fix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great.